The New York Times writes Trump surrenders at Atlanta jail in Georgia election interference case. Former President Donald J. Trump surrendered at the Fulton County Jail in Atlanta on Thursday and was booked on 13 felony charges for his efforts to reverse his 2020 election loss in Georgia. It was an extraordinary scene. A former U.S. president who flew on his own jet to Atlanta and surrendered at a jail compound surrounded by concertina wire and signs that directed visitors to the prisoner intake area. The Washington Post writes Trump surrenders at Georgia jail in election case. Trump's early evening trip to the Fulton County Jail came 10 days after the former president was charged in his fourth criminal indictment since March. Did we learn Trump's height and weight from the booking record? Donald Trump marks return to X, formerly Twitter, by posting mugshot. USA Today writes an arrest photo. A notorious jail. The Donald Trump arrest recapped. Donald Trump was arrested Thursday evening at Georgia's Fulton County Jail on charges he tried to steal the 2020 election, the fourth criminal case he faces while campaigning for president next year. Trump is one of 19 defendants in the indictment that alleges racketeering by a criminal organization that tried to overturn the election results. Local authorities said Trump would be treated like any other defendant. But the processing with authorities collecting fingerprints and a photograph contrasts to his three other cases, in New York, Florida and Washington, D.C., where he was processed at a courthouse during the same trip when he entered a formal plea to charges. His photograph wasn't required at previous bookings because he is well known. Los Angeles Times writes ex-cop was gunning for estranged wife, then shot randomly, killing 3 and wounding 6 at OC bar. A gunman who killed 3 people Wednesday night at a beloved local bar in Trabuco Canyon and wounded 6 others including his estranged wife was a former police officer, according to officials. The Orange County Sheriff's Department identified the gunman as John Snolling, a retired Ventura police sergeant. When John Snolling, 59, came to Cook's Corner, his target was his wife, who was a regular at the bar on Santiago Canyon Road. He fired on her and then began shooting randomly, Sheriff Don Barnes said Thursday afternoon. New York Post writes Internet not buying Trump's booking weight in Georgia election case, insane lie. Former President Donald Trump lost 25 pounds and gained an inch of height since April, according to jail records filed Thursday after he surrendered to Fulton County authorities on charges related to his alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 election results in Georgia. The 77-year-old's measurements, which were pre-reported, according to ABC News, indicate that Trump is 215 pounds with a height of 6 feet 3 inches 25 pounds lighter and 1 inch taller than when he was booked in Manhattan in April. Newsday writes sex workers described Gilgo killings suspect Rex Heuermann as violent and aggressive. The sex workers were interviewed by the sheriff's anti-human trafficking unit operating out of the 2 Suffolk jails not long after the 59-year-old architect's arrest. The Denver Post writes Denver School Board votes to support district's firing of former McAuliffe International School principal. Denver's school board voted Thursday against reinstating a middle school principal who was fired after publicly speaking out about the district's educators being required to check students for weapons. Denver Public Schools fired former McAuliffe International School principal Kurt Dennis in July, months after he spoke out about school safety in a television interview after the March shooting at East High School in which a teen undergoing a weapons search shot and wounded 2 deans. The Board of Education voted 6-1 to support Superintendent Alex Marrero's recommendation that Dennis be fired. San Francisco Chronicle writes, the Dons, no more? USF could ditch its longtime mascot over colonial associations. For more than 90 years, the University of San Francisco's mascot has been the Don, a green-hatted swashbuckler associated with its students, its sports teams and its most famous alumnus, the late basketball great, Bill Russell. The private Jesuit university's moniker evokes the majesty of its Spanish etymology, de origin noble, and honors Don Francisco de Haro, the city's first mayor, who used the title. Now, though, hundreds of students on the campus north of the Panhandle say that Don also conjures a very different history, the exploitation of California's indigenous people by Spanish colonizers. BBC News writes historic Trump mugshot released after arrest in Atlanta, Georgia. Donald Trump has surrendered in Georgia on charges of plotting to overturn the state's 2020 election results in an arrest that saw the first-ever mugshot of a former U.S. president. Mr. Trump had to pay a bail bond of $200,000, £160,000, to be released from the Atlanta jail while he awaits trial. Afterwards, he described the case as a travesty of justice. It was his fourth arrest in 5 months in a criminal case, but this was his first police booking photo. CNN writes Trump booked as inmate No. PO 1135809 after turning himself in on charges related to efforts to overturn his Georgia 2020 election loss. Donald Trump surrendered Thursday at the Fulton County Jail on more than a dozen charges stemming from his efforts to reverse Georgia's 2020 election results, the fourth time this year the former president has faced criminal charges. Trump spent a little more than 20 minutes at the Fulton County Jail, where he was processed and released on bond. Jail records showed him at 6 foot 3 inches tall and weighing 215 pounds, with blue eyes and blonde or strawberry hair. His booking number was PO 1135809. A mugshot of Trump was released soon after he left the jail.